Last episode, we did a review of Doom, which is the latest release in Neil Young's Archives series. Now, I discussed the CD version, which came in the monstrous Neil Young Archives Volume 2 set. If you shelled out the however much it was for 10 CDs for Volume 2, which is worth it, by the way. This is an amazing set. But like I said in the video, the reason we reviewed it is that it was just recently released on vinyl. Now, I didn't buy it on vinyl, but more than one of our loyal viewers in the comments in that video said, "You've got to get the vinyl. You've got to get it. It's amazing. It's amazing." The people have spoken. So, yes, here is the vinyl version of Doom. So, I want to let our viewers know I did go grab it. And as usual, you were correct. This is amazing on vinyl. It's like, go get it on vinyl. Go get it. Let's talk about Cortez the Killer. Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. And we're going to do something a little bit different, something I haven't done yet on this channel in the year and a half or whatever we've been doing this. We're going to just talk about one song. And that's the song I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but it's appropriate, seeing with the release of Doom on vinyl here in the last week or two, whenever this came out. So yeah, we're going to talk about a song, kind of break it down musically, break it down lyrically, because it's a fascinating song. I think it's a very interesting history. It's one of my favorite songs. So let's get into it. All right. So originally, Doom, Cortez the Killer, is released, of course, on Zuma. Now, you can be forgiven for a little confused here, but you can see the birds are facing each other here, opposite directions. The ships are in a slightly different configuration. The cacti are arranged a little differently. Anyway, Doom, Zuma, Doom, Zuma. I'll hold up Zuma. That was the original, right? It was originally released on Zuma in 1975. Plus, this is only one record, so it's a little easier to hold up, right? So, Cortez the Killer, one of Neil Young's most famous songs, definitely one of his most beloved songs amongst his fans, one of his most played songs live. If you, I would hazard a guess, you look at the majority of Neil Young's live albums, both the officially released and then the archives released, at least if they're electric. I think the majority of them feature Cortez the Killer. I mean, it's on almost all of them, the electric versions at least. So, 1975, a part of these Zuma Doom sessions. Now, it's interesting. You read the liner notes to his awesome 3-record set, Decade. And of course he's got Cortez the Killer on here. Neil talks about how it was banned in Spain under the Franco regime. Now, I haven't read to verify that separately, but I assume he's correct. Although it was interesting. Now, I was looking at dates. Zuma is released in 1975. Franco dies in 1975. So it couldn't have been banned that long. And I did read elsewhere that it was eventually released in Spain. Now, Neil claims to have written this song in high school. I read that somewhere too, or at least the germ of the idea, in high school history class. So he must not have had a very good history teacher, because there are some glaring inaccuracies in the lyrics of this song. But we're gonna break it down music and lyric. Let's start musically though. Musically, I mean, this is one of my very favorite Neil Young songs. It's one of my very favorite songs. I've always loved Cortez the Killer. It's got this, it's sort of the perfect pace for Crazy Horse. It's got this sort of languid, hypnotic pace. And very unusually, for any song in the pop or rock realm, it starts off instrumentally, right? It starts off with that, again, that hypnotic pace. Neil comes in. It really starts with a guitar solo, and one of his very greatest solos. I think it showcases why he is such a great electric guitar player. It's not blazing technique or speed. It's all feel. It's simple, but it's full of passion. And the vocals don't even come in until about 3.5 minutes. That's about 3.5 minutes in. You know, before Neil starts singing. For some people, that might be a blessing. I don't know. I love Neil's voice, obviously, but it could be an acquired taste. Now, what's interesting, the song goes. I forgot to actually check the like 7.5, something like that. It's seven somewhere minutes long. The song was supposed to go on longer. Again, when I was kind of reading about it, evidently a circuit blew in the mixing board, the recording board, or whatever, while they were playing, and kind of near the end. I don't know how long they'd actually been going, so then they had to fade it out at this certain point. Um, there is this sort of legendary lost verse, and supposedly Neil didn't want to go back and re-record it or anything. Didn't want to lose the magic, and he wasn't real fond of that missing verse anyway. So we really haven't heard that missing verse anywhere. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, musically, I mean it is just perfect. It's one of those songs that gets going, and I'm just pulled in immediately. Lyrically, it's a little bit more problematic. It's this kind of loose, dreamy historical narrative, about the Spanish conquest under the conquistador Hernan Cortez, conquest of the Aztecs in what is now Mexico, and very loose with the facts, you know. And I've always been kind of torn by these lyrics because I do teach history, so I always pay very much attention to history and the facts and all that kind of thing. It's very loose with the history, but it is also, I think, some of Neil Young's most just evocative, greatest lyrics, just as far as like imagery goes and that type. I mean, they're stunningly great just on a songwriting perspective. And so I've been torn, you know, between on these lyrics. I mean, just the opening verse is so brilliant, right? It's like it's so simple, succinct, but it's just brilliant. I mean, just listen to this imagery, right? He came dancing across the water with his galleons and guns, looking for the new world and the palace in the sun. Man, I have written songs off and on for decades, and I have never come up with something that succinct yet evocative. And that's why he's Neil Young and I'm not, right? But I just, from a songwriting perspective, he came dancing across the water is such a brilliant opening line. Ah, that's good. More problematic, though, but still great just from a songwriting perspective. The next five verses all sort of describe the Aztecs, under Montezuma's rule. Neil even name checks Montezuma, and they are idyllic to the extreme, right? Yeah, they describe this utopian society, at one with nature, kind of almost like flower children, and with these amazing technological feats and building these incredible structures. Now, some of that is true. I mean, the Aztecs were quite advanced in certain areas, especially in building. I mean the structures, the pyramids, all that stuff is still pretty amazing. Especially if you consider when those things were built. So, I it's all legitimate, right? To marvel at that kind of stuff. But it's more kind of the peaceful flower children thing that that causes some issue here. You know, Neil only kind of references the uh, the bloody human sacrifices obliquely, right? Um, he just has one line here where he says, "They offered life in sacrifice so that others could go on." Yes, but when you look at the history there, the Aztecs sacrificed thousands and thousands of people in these incredibly brutal ceremonies. And most of the people they sacrificed were not Aztec. They were from some of the surrounding tribes in the area that they had conquered through warfare. And, you know, I mean, there's a reason that when Cortez showed up, some of the other Native American tribes were very happy to ally with Cortez to take on the Aztec, because of what the Aztec had done, to them, in that area. I mean, little did they know they were trading for something worse, but they didn't know that yet. So, but here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. It's this little couplet here: "Hate was just a legend, and war was never known." No, no. Like I said, the Aztec were infamous for brutal, bloody warfare in that region and subjugating and conquering all the surrounding tribes. These were not little hippies living in their little commune and at one with nature. Maybe they were at one with nature, but kind of a bloody version. So I don't know that for a long time that really bothered me. Like I said, I stickler for history because that's kind of what I do. But I don't know. I've kind of come to peace with that. And even, and again, I've kind of you read there's a quote from Shaky, which is great biography on Neil. I should have pulled. I have it. I just don't have it with me here, but it's a great biography of Neil Young, and where there's a quote from there where he addresses, like, he's talking about Cortez the Killer, and he's like, I wasn't there, you know, I just, well, he says here, it's a lot of stuff I just made up because it came to me. Fair enough. At least you kind of acknowledge, acknowledge that. Now, what's really fascinating though, you have that really, like I said, that brilliant opening verse, sort of setting the scene of Cortez dancing across the water, and then 5 verses describing the Aztec cult, however inaccurate it may be, but the Aztec culture and the setting there and life under Montezuma and the other emperors. What's really fascinating is the second to last verse shifts perspectives dramatically. And so far it's been this historical narrative in the third person, just sort of describing this stuff. And but then it shifts into this first person narrative that sounds like present day. It's hard to tell. It's either present day or it's first person narrative of him living then. I can't tell which one it is. Where he says, "And I know she's living there and she loves me to this day. I still can't remember when or how I lost my way." It's a great line. Um, but obviously kind of addressing more of a personal relationship with a woman. Now, this is 1975. If you know Neil's biography at all, this is when his relationship with the actress, right, Carrie Snodgrass, is falling apart. So a lot of his songs and music addresses that relationship in this time period. So there are a lot of critics, a lot of people who listen to this and think that verse is addressing his relationship with Carrie. It's kind of interesting in the middle of this historical narrative, but who knows? Anyway, it is, Cortez the Killer is just this absolute brilliant song. I think it is Neil Young's, one of his greatest. Like I said, I don't get riled up as much about the historical inaccuracies anymore. It sounds. Grab it here on the new Doom. I mean, it sounds stunning. It is gorgeous. Highly recommend getting the. You can't really get the CD anyway, from my understanding, unless you buy that whole box set. So it's almost like you kind of, if you didn't get it then, and you don't want to shell out whatever, you kind of have to buy the vinyl. But I recommend buying the vinyl. It sounds stunningly beautiful. Um. Anyway, go back to our previous video if you want to see the whole review of Doom. which is basically an expanded version, kind of the Zuma sessions. Zuma, Doom, Zuma, Doom. Anyway, yeah, I'm trying to think. I was just listening recently to the version on Weld, the live version of Weld. It's early '90s. That's a real nice version. It's always a great song when he pulls that out live. Really is. A lot of people have covered it too. There's Built to Spill. There's all kinds of ton of covers of that. Anyway, what do you guys think? Are you bothered by historical inaccuracy in song lyrics, or is it just artistic license and it doesn't bother you that much? What do you think of Cortez the Killer? Is it one of your favorite Neil songs too, or Let's talk Cortez the Killer. What do you guys think? In the comments, of course. Well, thank you very much for watching. Please, the usual, please do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, like the videos, share the videos. All that stuff really helps us out. And we'll see you next time on Amity Tracks.